Have you ever been looking for a house just for fun and then you find the perfect one? Like your heart drops, you feel butterflies in your stomach, you maybe pass out, and once you come back to consciousness, you say, holy crap, this is the one. You send it to your close friend, and next thing you know, you're making future plans without even you being prepared. Well, in today's video, I'm going over somebody's email asking me for advice, or this situation happened, but there's just some things that quite aren't in order. Let's see if you can figure out as we read the email together. Hey Javi, my name is Beep. I don't want to say the name. I've been watching your videos for the last few months now, and I need your advice on something. First off, I rent a small apartment in the Los Angeles area, and I pay about $3,000 a month. I make currently about $5,000 to $6,000 a month, but I have a roommate that helps. If times get tough, I ask my mom reliably for help, and she's always there, so I can basically count on her if things get tight. I was browsing on Zillow one of these days in a different state, and she asked me not to share the state that she was looking in, and I found the perfect house for me. This house is priced around $420,000, and according to the mortgage math calculator on Zillow, it looks like the monthly payment is going to be between $2,000 to $3,000. I know my lease isn't up until August, but I really want to move forward on this house, and I think I should take advantage of it. I talked to a lender already, and they said I qualified for down payment assistance. So what do you think? Does this house seem like a good deal to you? I'd appreciate your input. Thank you for all your videos, and please feel free to make a video about this if you need to. So here I am. That's why I'm making a video. And whenever you guys give me permission to do that, it's free, fair game, right? So whenever I get an email like this, or I'm talking with a client in person, like if they want to buy a house here in my local area in Phoenix, Arizona, the first thing I really just use as an anchor point is a timeline, because the timeline is really going to dictate what are we doing here. Are we moving too soon? Are we moving too early? When do we really need to adjust? And I think we can start with that before we really dive into it, because you said your lease ends in August. I would have liked to known if it was early or end of August, but in this case, let's just assume it's going to be middle of August. So we're going to use a timeline tool here that based part of my spreadsheets that I have, just so we can kind of get a good idea of where we are. So if we want to be closed in August, and let's say we already know what we want, then we have to have an offer accepted by July. We need to start our home showings by July, and we need to get our pre-qualification done by June. So for all intents and purposes, we are starting a little bit sooner than we need to, in my opinion. It's currently was it end of April at the making of this video, and I think you're moving a little bit too soon here. Even if you are someone that takes longer to find a house, you start your pre-qualification in May, that's fine, but that still involves about 2 months of home showings. Timeline wise, we're moving a bit sooner than what that's wise. So if really you are going to go for a house, say if you were in a better position to buy, spoiler alert, then you really would be closing, would that be June? Because you start pre-qualification now, start looking in May, close and get an offer accepted by May, close in June. So your first payment is due August 1st, which I guess in theory still works for your timeline, but I always like to at least close a month before the lease is over, so that way your first payment falls the month after. And if you really like to live on the edge, I guess you could close the month of, if you're closing, like if your lease ends in the middle or the end, and it only gives you like a few weeks to move out. But do yourself a favor, try to give yourself at least 30 days for you to move out, because there's nothing more stressful than, or I don't want to say nothing more, one of the most stressful things I've personally experienced is having to move out on the weekend. Just like we have 1 or 2 days to move out. It's not fun. Please don't do it. Don't raise your blood pressure for no reason. That's my saying in life. Timeline wise, I would just kind of take a chill pill. I know you said you found the perfect house, your dream house. We'll get into more of that, I promise, but let's move on. So the next thing I identify when we're talking about buying a house after the timeline is, let's look at the down payment situation. Do you even have enough funds to initiate a transaction? You'd mentioned that you talked to a lender already, and they mentioned that they're willing to do down payment assistance. Now, we have to acknowledge that when we talk to an agent or a lender, in regards to like if your first initiation point is the house, like you're inquiring on a website or you're inquiring on a sign, like you're calling the sign, you acknowledge that initiating point is a sale. And because the initiating point was a sale, then the bias and what's really the motivation there is going to be the sale. So when qualifying you, they're not going to stop you and say, hold on, let's think about what we're doing here. They're going to say, oh, no down payment assistance, or no down payment, let's pull into your 401k. They're going to be in solution mode because their main objective is a sale. If you reach out to an agent or lender with the intention being, hey, I'm going to be buying in the near future, even though you are buying soon, and you're like, I just want to get educated on the process, then we can at least know that the bias, I mean, maybe it's still there a bit, but at least it'll be primarily based on education, right? More of a consultation. So you initiated this contact with this lender to get qualified for this house. The main bias will be to push you to the sale, and therefore they're putting the down payment assistance. I don't like that you're really buying this with down payment assistance. Here's the thing. When you're buying a home, you have to make sure that your habits are solid. What happens when you buy a home is the habits you have get magnified. So if you're someone that doesn't have the ability to save a down payment, which, let's face it, it's 3 to 5% at minimum, we're not talking like life-changing money, then I'm concerned about the habits you're going to have once you actually have a home and you have that massive pressure. We don't rise to the occasion, we fall back to our training. You're not going to be a better version of yourself once you own a home. You're going to still have the same habits, and they're going to be amplified even further because you're going to have that added pressure of a mortgage payment, and then the loaded gun of that, hey, if you don't pay this payment, and we'll give you a 14-day grace period, but if you don't pay it, then you're going to get foreclosed on, and it's just a lot of pressure that you're going to have. So I don't like that we're defaulting to down payment assistance here. I really think if you are going to use down payment assistance, you're using it because you have the funds to buy, but maybe you're in a situation where you have to buy for whatever reason, and you don't want to expend all your money to buy. If there's down payment assistance programs, like explore the credit union ones, explore the ones that are like maybe a lower down payment with no PMI as opposed to free down payment. Because really a lot of those times those down payment assistance are, yes, they give you the down payment, but then there's an added interest, or maybe it's 100% financing. So I don't know, just do your research. I always have a big old asterisk. If you guys want to, ever send me your down payment assistance programs you guys find in a wild, send them to me and I can review them, maybe make them a video. So let's kind of go over what that would look like if you were to save your own money. So you said the house was $420,000. Let's say we're gonna do like FHA, 3.5% down. That's $14,700. I don't know if you even have an emergency fund. This is like another topic that, once again, if you start a sale for a agent or lender, they're not going to stop you. But you should not be considering buying a house if you don't have an emergency fund. Off the bat, you mentioned that your mom helps you when needed. I'm not here to be your life coach, okay? I'm not your life coach. Have we all needed help from our parents or from friends? Yes, I'm sure we've all gotten to that point. But if you have created the habit of, instead of being able to have a savings account that you lean on when things get tight, instead you go to your parents for help, then that's probably not going to change. So I would implore you to save at least a month. Let's start with the month of savings before we even get into buying a home. So I would hit no for you here. And then I would hit, let's say at minimum, you say your rent is $3,000. So maybe let's say $4,000 of living expenses. Let's just start with 1 month. Well, actually, if you're buying a house, you should at least have 2 or 3 in my opinion, but I'm going to hit you for 3. Inspection, additional inspections, appraisal. The state that you mentioned has average tax and insurance, so I'm assuming closing costs are going to be around there. And, granted, we can get the seller to potentially pay those closing costs for you, so that's like a flex area. But if you get them to pay your closing costs for you, that's about $28,300. If you don't get them to pay it for you, it's about $40,000. Let's say you forgot to mention that you do have your emergency fund saved and that this is, not an issue. Okay, so it's going to cost you about 17 to 20K, depending on the situation, depending if you get closing costs. But I would like to see some emergency funds. I would like to see at least half of your closing costs saved in case you run into a situation where the negotiations get hairy. But that's just that's where we are. So the next thing that we talk about when we're chatting with someone is, okay, we have an idea of the timeline, we have an idea of the cash to close or how much money we need. Then let's talk about affordability, which I believe in this case is probably going to be your third strike. When you're looking at affordability, the conclusion that you're making is, because I'm now paying rent for $3,000, I should then be able to qualify or afford a $3,000 mortgage payment. You probably shouldn't have a $3,000 rent right now. You're making $5,000 to $6,000. It looks like your income is, kind of dependent, and that's I'm assuming that's your net. Is that your net or your gross? Well, if you guys do send me an email, please let me know what your gross and net are. I'm assuming it's your net. I hope it's not because gross would be like you're making like 445 maybe. So I'm guessing it's your net income. So you're paying half of your money to the rent. And you said you had a roommate, which maybe they pay like $1,000 or whatever, but let's just assume there's no roommate situation. So half of your money is going to your rent. And quite frankly, that's not the lifestyle that you are wanting to live, because once you have a mortgage, it's serious. It's not a rent, it's a 12-month commitment. If you want to go rent somewhere, temporarily and live on 50% of your income because you're going through that phase of your life, if that's your era, then go for it. But once you make a 30-year commitment, right? It's the difference between a 1-year commitment and a 30-year commitment where you're paying interest on this money, where you're not going to be able to say, oh man, this is really tight for my budget. I can't wait for this lease to be over in a few months. No, we can't do that with the house, especially now in this market. You may have to hold on to your house for a while. So you really want to make sure that you're putting yourself in a much more affordable position. So to calculate that number, we're actually going to use this is the budget breakdown one. So it's just really easily what it does is we were going to put down here, let's say 6,000, and we don't know what your gross monthly income is, but I'm assuming if you make about 5 to 6, probably going to be like at 8. Kind of breaking down just easily what the percentages are, right? So ideally, if you're at 25%, we're at 1,500. Most people nowadays that I help are between 35 to 40, but they have a generous savings already and they have a good spot, or maybe they have a second income or something, right? So 2,100 to 2,400, and that's just to kind of be there. And if you want to push it to 45 and you really want to stretch it, we're still not even at 3. So at 3, we are definitely more than what we need to. You need to be probably closer to $1,800 to $2,100. Now, here's the thing. I mean, $6K a month is solid money. I mean, in that case, you're making at least, I'm assuming 70 to 80 a year. So that's like good money. And if you can make that in another state that's more, actually livable. I know in LA things are tight. Then, I mean, go for it. But the problem that I'm seeing here is you're living a life really stretched now. You have a roommate that's helping you with the bills. If things get really tight, you ask your parents for help and then they kind of bail you out, right? Well, having a mortgage is going to be a different lifestyle. If I have 6 months to train for a marathon, there's maybe a good chance if I work really hard and I start training today, I could probably achieve that goal. If I want to run a marathon and I don't start training until the month before, what are the odds it's going to work out for me? You're probably going to want to watch see me poop my pants halfway or something, right? But I'm either going to get really hurt in training or in the marathon, or I'm just going to fail at the actual task. Buying a house is not a marathon, it's more a sprint. So imagine it's a freaking 5-mile sprint. So if you're training for a 5-mile sprint, or even a mile sprint, I can't even imagine that. You're training for a mile sprint. You're not going to start training a month before. And right now, with your lease expiring in, August, you are starting to train for a mile sprint literally at this point. I mean, you need to be under contract by June, July, I said. So you're like a month beforehand. So at this point, there's 2 scenarios. If you're someone who regularly does cardio, and like every day jogs, or every week jogs a few miles a week, and someone who's has a really active lifestyle, maybe they can pull it off. Maybe they can do that 1-mile sprint. That 1-mile sprint's kind of, but if you're someone that doesn't do that regularly, you're probably going to fail. If we convert that to what we're actually talking about, someone who actually has really good credit, who has good financial habits, who has savings, who has emergency funds on top of their house savings, they can probably pull this off. They can probably move to another state and buy this within a month or 2, and they're probably going to be in a good spot. Here's the thing. I don't want you to be discouraged. I want you to go after it. If anyone watches my channel, the biggest criticism I always get is, you're a realtor, of course you're going to tell people to buy. Buying a home to me is important because there's just something about having ownership of where I live that's important to me. I'm someone who was raised in Phoenix, Arizona, by immigrants in the immigrant community. And to me, having an ownership of my home is just something important to me. It doesn't make a lot of investment sense sometimes, no. You know, monthly payment wise, would it be much more better for me to rent a house in that area? Maybe. It's about something inside you that just wants to own where you live. And so I'm not telling you that you need to be in a perfect situation and it's going to perfectly work out for you, but you also have to be aware of the devil you're dancing with. You know what I'm saying? So the beautiful part is chase after the goal, go for it, but don't make it a 1 month, 2 month goal. Make this a next year goal. You have 12 months to get your shit together. Next year, April 2023, it's all 22, sorry. April 2026, geez Louise, I'm getting old. My God, what's wrong with me? Make it a year goal, sign another lease for a year, and then by next April, I didn't take any handouts from my parents. I have my savings done, I have this, I have that. Now let's go for it. And the realtor will tell you, well, the houses are gonna be more expensive next year. You're gonna lose out on potential equity. Who gives a shit? It's about being set up for success. So I'm going to say no. I'm going to say don't buy now. You need to get your crap together. You need to spend another 12 months to seriously consider like what you can do to adjust your lifestyle. You need to either go rent something smaller, or hey, if you want to, if you have the itch to move, go move to that state that you're interested in, rent somewhere hopefully a lot cheaper, and maybe like get to know the area, get to know if you actually are, you know, that you actually do like it. What do you guys think? Is Pablo Escobar right or what? Don't make fun of my mustache. I'm very sensitive. If I see any comments about that, I'm gonna cry. If you're interested in any of the of the spreadsheets I am showing in today's video, they're part of my Homebuyer HQ. You can click the link below. You can get it for free if you're, you know, in that mode. But if you can help out a little bit too, hey, that's cool. $4 million, go for it. If you're interested in getting an agent referral anywhere that's not Arizona, Phoenix, Arizona, you can check out this link below. It's an agent referral. You click a few buttons, you get connected with an agent anywhere in the country. Or if you're interested in working with me in the Phoenix, Arizona area, you can go to my website, schedule an appointment with me, and get the ball rolling. So yeah, let's see. Let's not make fun of my mustache. Let me know what you guys think. If you have any advice for this person, thank you guys so much. Appreciate you. See you soon.